Welcome back to Fox Sports News. I'm Kath Lockenham. Well, Tim Tszyu and Joel Camilleri will go toe-to-toe tonight with the Australian super welterweight title on the line. For the latest, we're joined by boxing commentator Paul Upham. Paul, how have you viewed the build-up to this fight?
Oh, it's been very interesting, Catherine. We like to see stars in boxing. We need names. And to be on the main event channel, you've got to be a star. And Tim Tszyu's obviously got the pedigree with his fantastic father, the undisputed world champion Costa. He can certainly fight, there's no doubt about that. He's got a great personality. He's a fantastic representative for boxing. The question is, can he compete at the highest level? And we're going to see a test for him tonight because Joel Camilleri is a very good Australian champion and he's not going to go in there to lose.
Yeah, exactly how big of a step up is this for Tim?
Look, it's a step up as far as experience is concerned and also the expectation. Now, if you just look at the professional experience, Camilleri's had 120 professional rounds. Tim Tszyu's only had 40 professional rounds. And it takes time to learn to be a professional fighter. I think there's the expectation that people have already said to me, oh, Tim Tszyu's going to win this fight easily. I don't certainly expect that to happen. I think it's going to be a contest, and I think we're going to see a great fight. And Tim Tszyu's going to need to show us something. Is he going to live up to the legend of his father?
He's got certainly a lot of pressure on him, doesn't he? In saying all that, where do you think the bout will be won and lost between these two?
Look, watching them over the years grow up, the two sons, Nikita and Tim, Nikita was more of an all-action knockout puncher like his father, the younger son. The older son, Tim, is more of a thinking fighter like Costa was. And I think he's going to take his time. He's not going to try and knock him out in the first round. Camilleri's a very exciting fighter. He throws lots of punches. He really winds up to try and get knockout blows. He's very entertaining. And I think Tim's going to try and take his time and just pick him apart when he loads up too much. But having said that, 18 months ago, I saw Tim Tszyu knocked to the ground against Wade Ryan in a fight at Star City on a Johnny Lewis promotion. He got up and won the fight on points. I give him credit for that. But Tim Tszyu has been knocked down. He can be hurt. And he's going to show us a little bit more tonight. Can he handle an exciting volume puncher like Camilleri? And I think this is what is interesting for the fans to tune into main event because we're going to see, can Tim Tszyu fight at this top level?
So for Tim, it's going to be critical to just get through those first few rounds.
Look, I wouldn't expect him to go for the knockout. He's not like that. He has had some first-round knockouts. We've seen that in his career against lesser fighters. But I think he knows the expectation here, that this is his first fight at main event on pay-per-view. A lot of public's going to be watching him for the very first time. People haven't seen maybe Tim Tszyu fight. They know who his father is. So I know there's a little bit of added pressure there. But he's not going to want making mistakes. He's a non-mistake fighter. He's a very thinking fighter, as I said, and he's just going to get through those early rounds. I think Tim can win on points. But I think it's not going to be an easy fight because I think Joel Camilleri brings a lot to the table. He's got a lot of experience.
So outside of a draw, what's next for either fighter, win or lose?
Well, Tim's already mapped out a plan. He wants to have a couple more fights and fight Jeff Horn, the Australian former world champion. If he wins tonight, looks good, he'll move on to some other fights. And that's important. Don't rush it in professional boxing. You can't go from the beginning to a world championship fight straight away. It's just not done. If Camilleri wins, maybe he gets a rematch. If it's an exciting fight and the public wants to see it again and Tim Tszyu, wants a rematch to try and avenge the loss. But Camilleri's looking at this as his chance to get some exposure, beat Tim Tszyu and turn it into maybe a world title fight or a big fight overseas. So there's so much on the line for both guys tonight. No one's going to want to lose.
You mentioned Jeff Horn. He'll be at the fight tonight. When are we expecting him to be back in the ring?
Look, Jeff's made a lot of money in some big fights recently. He had the win over Manny Pacquiao and he had that disappointing loss to Terence Crawford. So he's in a position where he can sit and wait. He wants big fights. He's talked about fighting the Mexican great Saul Canelo Alvarez. I don't know if that's realistic at this stage. Maybe Jeff needs to have a win or two in between. He maybe needs to go back to America and fight one of the Americans over there and get a win. But Jeff right now is prepared to just sit around and just wait for the offers to roll in. But for him to be at ringside tonight, that shows you that he has got an eye on Tim Tszyu. Tim Tszyu said he'd love to fight Jeff Horn at the new Bankwest Stadium in Western Sydney. I think that's a fantastic event if Tim's ready for it. But right now, he's not ready for Jeff Horn. He's got to beat Camilleri, convincingly. But for Jeff Horn, it's just wait and see what the opportunities are.
Let's talk more about Tim's legendary father. We don't want to put too much pressure on him, but you know the family well. What type of dad is he? Is he very hands-on, or does he let Tim figure it out himself more?
Look, Costa is living in Moscow now. He's got a lot of business opportunities and connections over there, and Tim and the rest of the family obviously here in Australia. They talk regularly, I know that. They have a relationship, so there's a father and son relationship, and there's also, you know, the trainer-mentor relationship there. Look, you couldn't have a greater mentor than Costa Tszyu, and Costa loves his son so much. He really has so much time for them. It's unfortunate they're on other sides of the planet, but, you know, he'll be watching the fight live tonight, and, you know, they would have talked on the phone and on Skype and come up with a game plan. And, you know, for Tim, you see so much of Costa in him. Not so much the pure punching power, but the dedication to the sport, the respect for the sport. And I think that Tim Tszyu, if he can be successful as a great fighter, he's going to be a fantastic representative. But I know Costa's very proud of him because he told me, Paul, I never thought that he was going to be a boxer. Tim was a great representative football player in his younger days, and he walked away from boxing for a little while, and he's come back again. He wants to make the opportunity of trying to be a pro fighter. But, you know, Costa always felt, growing up in that Soviet system himself, he had 300 amateur fights, that his sons didn't do the same thing, so they would never be like him. So he never expected Tim to be a boxer.
How nervous do you think Costa will be tonight?
Oh, Costa's incredibly nervous. You know, the first time Tim was fighting as a pro, Costa was there at ringside, and I was actually watching him, and he was sweating in between rounds. And there's so much. It's just like any father there. Your son's in the ring, doing anything, any sort of competition or sport. You want him to do well. You want him to be successful. And Costa will be feeling the pressure. He'll be probably saying that maybe I should have been here in Sydney at ringside, but unfortunately he won't be able to do that. But, you know, Costa really feels the pressure. It's so much harder, he said, to watch than be in the ring yourself.
As we're seeing on screen there, you wrote his book, Something Worth Fighting For, with him, so you know him very well. Just how much better do you think Costa, or I guess I should reword that, do you think Tim could be better than Costa?
I don't think so because of the upbringing. You know, Costa was in the Soviet Olympic system. He had 300 amateur fights before he even turned pro. He was the world amateur champion, and went on to become undisputed world champion. I just don't think Tim has that grounding. Not to say he can't be a world champion, not to say that he can't be a very good fighter. I think he can be. I think that it takes time. He's only 24. But I just think Costa had so many more opportunities as a youngster growing up in that Soviet boxing system, and so many opportunities to fight around the world before he even turned pro, before he came to Australia. I think it's unrealistic to have any expectations on Tim Tszyu. He wants to be Tim Tszyu. He doesn't want to be Costa's son. I think he'd be very good in his own right. But that's why watching tonight. Let's watch on Main Event tonight and see how good he can be.
Yeah, it's exciting, isn't it? Before I let you go, Paul, former Queensland and Broncos star Justin Hodges is also in action tonight. What do we know about his opponent? What are his chances?
Look, I don't think they've matched him too hard. We saw in his first fight, he is a novice. He's talked about fighting Paul Gallen. I think that's unrealistic right now. I think Justin, fantastic rugby league player. He needs to get some more training camps, some more fights under his belt. You know, I don't think they would have matched him too hard there. You can see the difference in height. He's obviously got a height and reach advantage. But, you know, he's talked about fighting Paul Gallen. That'd be a great fight. I'd love to see Paul Gallen and Justin Hodges, but not right now. Let's just take our time with Justin, work up towards maybe next year. The fight we want to see with Paul Gallen is Sonny Bill Williams. That's the fight the rugby league fans and the rugby union fans want to see. So let's see how Justin goes tonight, and maybe he can work up towards something with Paul next year.
Certainly does have a height advantage tonight, doesn't he? Paul, thank you for your time on Fox Sports News, and enjoy all the action tonight on Main Event.
Thanks, Catherine.